Good evening, everyone. I'm your host along with Prashant today for this
Evening,
webinar.
everyone. Now, I would request Shrivatsa, let's begin with your introduction and also about Somany Ceramics for our viewers, because Saurabh and I won't want to be a gap in between you and viewers now. So people are waiting to hear from you.
And we,
So, hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, both Saurav and Prashant, for giving your introductions. Um, so, quickly about me, I'm technically the third generation in my family business. I had a very different entry into my family business. I've always been a tech person at heart. I did both my undergrad and my master's in computer science. I then worked at Zomato after my master's degree. Then I started a company with a couple of friends called Cados, and we were working on uh, basically it was a medtech company. We did a lot of hardware related IP. We have two patents that we made, six patents for two machines. Sorry, that we created over around 3.5 years, and they're still, I mean, the only machines of their type on the planet. It was about medicine packaging. We sold that company in 2022, early of 2022, and we know where we were in 2022. We were just coming out of COVID and came down to just deciding. I think startup life is obviously not very conducive to family life. It was time to start a family. So I thought it was the best time to now come and lend a hand and get started with what is ultimately the place where you want to end up at. So I had a very different entry into, like I said, into my business, where it was coming from a perspective of technology and building smaller companies. And we ended up now, I went from a startup to what is a 53-year-old brand at this point. Around in 1969 is when it was incorporated. 1970, 71 is when the operation started. So roughly about a 53-year-old brand now. We are roughly around 3,000 crores of revenue today, about 800 plus employees, pan India. We are present everywhere in India. I mean, we're the second largest tile brand in the country. Uh, Arguably the ones that make the best tiles, though. But the verdict is out, I guess. That's me being biased. We make tiles, we make bathware. We've been in bathware for almost 11 years now. We've been serious about it for the last 5 or 6. I handle the bathware side, but I have to stress that it's one family, it's one company. We're not split in any way or anything. We all run this together. My brother, who's much older than me, he's been running Somany for the last 26, 27 years. Rather, he's been in Somany for the last 26, 27 years, been running it for the last 20 or so. And I came in, we started handling this. The business is growing, touch wood, and needed more hands. So that's where we ended up. We also just got into building materials, so basically adhesives and waterproofing. So companies expanding, portfolios expanding, and that's where we are. So you want me to continue, or do you want to?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, Saurabh.
yeah, I think we lost Shivats, is it? Okay.
No.
Shivats. Okay, great. Yeah, so I think this is great. Shivas, that background is very, very helpful. And I think just to reiterate, if I have not highlighted this point, this whole idea of this whole conversation that we are trying to bring someone like Shivas coming from a fairly large enterprise, particularly in manufacturing and building materials side, is we want to bridge the gap between enterprises which are looking for great tech. And we can see that from my vantage point, being working with a fund and this large community, I can see that there is a big inflection point where Indian large enterprises, so far they have been fairly kind of laggard when it comes to technology adoption. I think that is changing slowly. And India, which was supposed to be a market where people used to think that, oh, you should look for opportunities outside India as a B2B software seller, but I think that is changing. And we want to be small enabler in that direction, and create an opportunity where our founders, which are part of our network, can find a path for themselves to look at opportunities to create this path, right? So great. She was this background is very, very helpful. She was maybe coming to the next part of the discussion, that talk a little bit about how this industry itself is kind of evolving, right? And we, like I mentioned, that so far, this kind of Indian, the perception has been that Indian markets have not been very conducive to B2B software buying, right? How it is happening when it comes to manufacturing and building material as a segment? What is that you are seeing, and if you can share some perspectives there.
So, I mean, it's obviously a very broad topic and kind of worth a webinar on its own as to where we are as an industry, tech-wise. But in a nutshell, it's a very split industry. I mean, if you look at Asian paints, I mean, there was a Harvard, not a study, but like a little excerpt from Harvard that said that Asian paints is one of the largest. I mean, they're a paint company, but they're one of the largest data companies in the country, right? So they are super tech enabled. They probably have a good idea of where every drop of paint was manufactured and where it went and who put it. They probably even know which wall it went on. So they are extremely tech enabled. And then in the same, that you would consider building material, then you would come down to the other extreme, which would be the tiles and the bathware side, which is very nascent in its tech enablement. It's only just beginning. You know, dealer management systems are not commonplace. Despite us doing all of our work through our dealers, they are not taken for granted. Let's put it this way. You know, loyalty programs are very, very, how shall I say, they're not earnestly done. We're one of the first few people in the tiles and bathware and all that have earnestly put a loyalty program into motion with a thing like, you know, a lot of people put in software these days into companies like ours, not our company, where it's like, can I solve my problem right now? Something is happening, you know, it's difficult to find people, or this is not something human can do very effectively. Can I have someone to do it? And they will do it, and they'll do it in a very now type of situation. There's no idea of how does this software scale. See, coming from a software background, even working, like I said, it is a huge learning working at Zomato, where every decision you take has to have a future perspective to it, despite you doing it fast. So that kind of thought process is not there in our side of the industry. So I would call it not tech enabled from a ideology point of view, right? But that said, obviously tech is the need of the hour. We've seen, I mean, ever since ChatGPT dropped, we've seen an even faster acceleration into tech enablement, right? I'm not saying AI or anything. I have my thoughts on AI as to how useful it is, how useful it isn't. It's definitely overblown and people are going crazy over it, but it is definitely a very, very useful and very good tool, right? So main issue obviously comes today. See, like India, we've always had the benefit ki throw manpower at the solution, right? Uh, Manpower, of course, is not going to be the only thing that helps you. Now, even places where manpower is easy to put in, you know, finding good people, finding both skilled and unskilled manpower is only getting harder for whatever reason. You know, something like finding somebody to do my grinding and polishing in my fittings plant. It's just getting harder and harder, and it's not like on a long time scale that I'm saying, okay, next 5 years it'll be difficult. I mean, on the scale of months, I'm fighting to find manpower, right? Skilled also, I mean, people are upskilling themselves, people are getting more and more expensive over time, and there reaches that inflection point where something like a tech solution will do the work, right, for you. For example, with something that started a lot in our industry right now is direct dealer ordering. I mean, one would think कि like ये already नहीं है आपके पास, नहीं है, because हमारे dealers, they are very grassroots level people, and they've all grown. Now their second generation is coming in, which are much more tech enabled. They've got the background to be that tech enabled, so they have certain expectations. So अब वो start हो रहा है, right? So now something like that is happening. I remember we were having this conversation with someone who's like, somebody said, but sir, we'll have to get a per user license cost. Okay, true. But then you are also paying the transport and all of that stuff for your guy to go and meet the dealer to get that order. I'm not saying we don't do that in our industry. I mean, whether it's us or a good friend of mine who runs Astral, which is 10 times the size of my industry, even he's down on the ground meeting dealers. So the face-to-face thing is still very important. But yes, there is huge optimization to be had because of the manpower issues, right? And everything just getting more expensive. We've all felt it. So that's there. And of course, everybody here knows that the general speed of adoption has increased like crazy. So I don't have the time that, like maybe Asian Paints, when they started it, they had a lot of time to build what they did. They started early, which is obviously very good, but I don't have that kind of time to build what they built. I have to be more faster. So that's where we are. I mean, happy to answer any questions on this. Like I said, it's a broad topic.
Correct. No, absolutely. So, I mean, the question that, like, two questions, if I have to kind of try to speak from the founder's perspective, I think the first question that comes to my mind is that, like I said, there is a general perception for B2B software companies who try to build the product. There is a larger perception that, hey, go outside India because that is where your bigger opportunity would lie, and the sales cycles, the price points are going to be very different. Would you basis what you are seeing, and like you are saying, the tech is need of the hour, people mindset are shifting, even the dealers, you gave example that they are becoming more tech enabled. Would you recommend that founders should start taking this segment far more seriously and start building for Indian enterprises, Indian manufacturers, where they see that they can ride the wave where this tech adoption would only scale up and will not scale down? And this could also be a greenfield opportunity because so far the adoption has been less.
See, a lot of times, if you see, there is a certain indigenization that we have for India, for the software we build in India. I mean, I don't mean to say this in a bad way at all, but Indians are wired different. I would say, like the West, literally like Europe, America, these guys think in a very similar way as to what their expectations are, how they work. Yes, they're ready to pay more money for certain things, but why? Because ultimately, manpower is an issue there. People are way more expensive than they are here, right? So it comes down to that. But yes, Indians are differently wired when it comes to, you really have to show them a value proposition. It's very important. It's ingrained in us that we need a very strong value proposition to jump ship. And of course, like all things, certain times that's detrimental to us, and certain times that's very helpful to how we are and where we are as a country today, right? So in India, to answer your question more pointedly, in India, at the end of the day, we need to build software, of course, one that registers in the Indian psyche, which over time, there is enough kind of software you can make for that. But we also need to understand that in India, it's about scale. Anything you do in this country is about scale. It's about mass. It's not about getting that one niche and attacking that niche. I mean, we have we have thousands of dealers, right? And we're practically a small company. And from a market cap point of view, we're a small cap. So the kind of mass that there is over here, I mean, tell me one small cap company comparatively in America, for example, that has such a massive dealer network of humans doing what they do.
Mm.
It's how they function. So if you can make something for India, make sure you're doing something for mass and make the value proposition good. So at the end of the day, you will end up with something. Yes, you might not earn money on that one license cost, but you
Mm.
have that many more people. That's something I would
Mm.
suggest. Obviously, easier said than done. I'm not saying it's easy to do or not easy to do, but I'm just saying, yeah.
Got it. No, fantastic. That's a great insight. Let's move on. I think we have limited
Yeah,
window. Prashant, over to you.
yeah. So, since we are talking, Shrivats, of tech adoption, so now I would like to understand more in detail for Somany Ceramics, because see, we see a very clear divergence in the building material sector, and
Yeah.
on one hand, companies like you just mentioned, Asian Paints, have become benchmarks for technology integration. On the other hand, the tiles and bathware industry has been perceived as more traditional, as you said. So, from your vantage point, what are the core reasons for this gap? And what is Somany's strategic vision to leverage technology and potentially maybe leapfrog the competition in next few years?
I mean, as to why that's the case, we're just a much smaller industry, right?
Hmm. Okay.
When was the last time you replaced tiles in your house? Or when was the last time you replaced the pot in your house?
Interesting question. I don't even remember that I have ever replaced, unless they are broken or something, tiles, but pot. I don't even remember I replaced the pot.
There's your answer, right? When was the last time you repainted a wall? 2 years ago?
Yeah, painting is like 2, 3 years. Yes.
There you go. So it comes down to replacement, right? At the end of the day. So they're just a much bigger industry, and they've been ahead of the curve when it comes to that. And hats off to how they've done it. They've been ahead of the curve for this, and the industry itself is like that. And because the industry is like that, each dealer is that much bigger. When the dealer is that much bigger, they have that much more money to be invested into something like this. Our dealers, size-wise, are much smaller than a paint dealer at the end of the day. Although there's many dealers. So I'm not saying each particular dealer or something, but like, yeah, they're just huge in their scale. So that's a big reason for that in terms of just having the money to be able to do these kind of projects. Uh, that's one big reason, and also vision, like I said, is huge. I am seeing a few questions in the thing. Do you want to address them now, or how do you want to do that?
Uh, Saurabh,
Yeah. So
yeah,
yes, we
let's
will cover them.
have
Maybe.
some questions.
Yeah, Prashant, why don't you finish your questions for
Yeah,
this?
just a connecting question,
Sure,
Srivat.
sure.
You
Sorry.
have highlighted about the uh, need for the product, and the industry you are saying is very small compared to likes of paints. So since it's critically industry-wide challenge like manpower shortage, skilled and unskilled, rising costs of operations. So how are you looking at the technology overall for your specific automation in manufacturing? You were talking about AI when Saurabh was talking to you. So not just add on, but as a fundamental solution to tackle these core problems, how do you look at and how do you see them improving your profitability?
See, at the end of the day, tiles especially is a mass item, right? We don't have very high margins, so anything we do in for our bottom line exercise helps a lot because the multiplication factor is huge. So something like I'll tell you, uh, we put in a warehouse management system uh, not too long ago, couple of years ago. That was
Mhm.
super helpful. Why?
Okay.
Because that just helps my inventorizing that much better. It's as simple. Like there's so many low-hanging fruits right now, right? Something like uh, you have AI to like a chatbot to help with after sales of sanitary ware or any of your bathware products, which actually requires after sales service, right? Something like that is useful, which helps me a lot because I don't have to hire that many people, and because it costs me 500 rupees per call for a plumber.
Mhm.
Every time a plumber visits, it costs 500 bucks. I'm giving you a 10-year warranty. You're not going to buy something that doesn't give you a 10-year warranty because this is something that lasts that much longer. You're like 10 साल तो मेरा faucet चलना ही चाहिए. So to save that $500, rather the multiple visits, एक बार तो जाएगा, but can I send the plumber in one shot so that it's done? That gives better customer service also, and it is much lighter on my pocket as well. I don't have the margins to pay $500 3 times. So somewhere like that, then it comes down to things like we've got an AI based, not an AI. I don't want to keep using the word AI as in the AI. I don't mean to say that, but using AI, a very basic AI, like a tile visualizer where you can visualize how a tile will look in your place. These are things that the industry started to do now. So there's lots, like I said, it's such a big topic. There's so many places where we're doing what we're doing, both internal, external, warehousing, making sure that we build what we want to sell. We don't have extra stock because stock बहुत जल्दी बढ़ जाता है यहाँ पे if something doesn't move. Because we make 70 million square meters. So it's huge. The scale is huge.
Okay, let's move on. In interest of time, I think talk a little bit about some of your recent implementation. That would be a very good window for people to see that, okay, where Somany Ceramics as a company is heading, what kind of tech adoption that is happening. If we can talk a little bit about that across various functions, right, from sales, marketing, HR, finance, your customer service, your distribution network. Talk a little bit about that. That would be an interesting insight for people to know. Right?
Sure. So we've done a lot of implementations over the last couple of years. Obviously, some stuff like that I haven't mentioned, like a digital catalog that we made that was in-house, which I'll get to. A lot of stuff. But why I picked these 3 things because there are 3 things in 3 different buckets altogether. So starting with our loyalty program, which is Rishte. So if you see, like, especially we started it in Bathware because it's a much smaller vertical in the grand scheme of things. So we use this as a test bed. And since I'm in charge of it directly, it's easy for me to implement things and start. So we started Rishte with Bathware and we started for our sub dealers. Why a loyalty program? Of course, I can do a paper-based loyalty program like they used to do in electricals back in the day. Why did I have to go with an app? Because I have so many dealers. Pretty obvious answer. It's easier for me to give them a suite of products that they can buy. It makes logistics that much easier, right? And it gives a lot of engagement and a lot of scope to increase engagement, push new products. So that's why a loyalty program was very important. We moved from there to plumbers and masons, which we would call our influencers, and contractors, obviously, for tiles. That's very important. And now we're onboarding architects to this as well. Now, why loyalty program? At the end of the day, it was a need of the hour in our industry because with so much competition in the industry, how do you increase dealer stickiness? What makes you different other than the fact that हाँ ये एक brand है? I mean, you can't take a brand for granted anymore. Because again, it comes down to there's so many different sizes of pockets of people. I mean, you have people who are spending 2 lakh rupees on a faucet from Gessi, and you have somebody who's buying a 800 rupee shower mixer also. So you have so many different people. And everyone's building something or the other for you. How do you increase the stickiness for the dealer? So that was one important thing as to what we did with Rishte. Then switching gears, our CRM improvements. So Rishte was like a greenfield type of system that we had. There was no idea, especially in Bathware. In our rung, there was nobody who was doing it. We're like Bathware wise, we're a second level player, so to speak, in terms of size. And nobody was doing it in our thing. And we felt that, first mover advantage would be huge here. CRM improvements, why I chose this, because this was more of a brownfield, so to speak. It was, this is before I joined, we were told, हाँ, हमको CRM करना है. this is that thing that I was saying that, where we weren't looking at it from a future perspective back in the day. हाँ हमें CRM करना है, Microsoft Dynamics अच्छा है, Microsoft Dynamics ले लो. But we built nothing on it for the longest time. We were paying for it, but we didn't build anything on it. And now the problem is I honestly found some great CRM systems that were built out, uh, but we had to take that strategic call to stick with Microsoft Dynamics and build a new front end on top of that, build new integration on top of that, because it was already kind of halfway integrated with SAP. That doing that again, uh, we were like, let's just do that. So what we did, so our main CRM was used for people for our sales force, which is basically our main guys on the ground. They were having trouble seeing कि stock कितना है, ये क्या है. सुबह सुबह stock का report आता था. You would get a stock report with the tiles in the morning, and then you would not get the next report till 2 p.m. So everyone, in between, they had no idea if they could order what they had to order, to punch the order in and reserve their tile for that dealer. So you can imagine how much of a headache that was from so many dealers. So we had to do that. Then travel expenses were getting out of hand. Uh, Fortunately for us, most of our on-ground people are honest and we trust them and they do a good job. But travel expenses are becoming very difficult to track because itne kilometer hum chalaye hain, itna stop karna pade, all these kind of things. And of course, there are always those bad apples where people were not going, they were not meeting. Dealers were screaming ki aapka to aadmi aata hi nahi hai, aapka to aadmi aata hi nahi hai. And वो आदमी बोल रहा है कि हम जा रहे हैं. Now we are a trusting organization. Why would I fire someone without, proof? So this helps with proof that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But mainly we use it for expenses, obviously, that we don't under or over expense something, right? Then comes the warehouse management system. Why I put this here was that it was like very late in the day that we put it in, because we have so many millions of square feet in our warehouses at a time that we have to, and pieces of bathware or whatever. Then it came down to Rishte loyalty program. We have to put our QR codes. Where will we put the QR codes? We have 17 different vendors that send us fittings which have a QR code. So the warehouse management system was very useful, where it was kind of a situation where this is really the need of the hour to tie in a lot of systems that we want into one place. So we started with the WMS in Bathware, where it was just generating the QR codes in a central location while we were doing the inventorization. So that was very helpful. These are some of the recent implementations. Smaller things we've done. Like I said, we had an app. We just made a truly digital uh, catalog for Bathware, because we give paper catalogs. People like hard cover. Well, I mean, like something you can feel. Dealers are like that. They like something, but obviously MRPs change, products get deleted, this, that, whatever. And आज क्या हो रहा था, if people didn't have catalogs in their hand, they would open a PDF and zoom in, check what that is. The MRP would still be old, this, that, whatever. It was very difficult. Now, you scan a QR code, it gives you a searchable list. You don't have to like flip through PDF pages, like small stuff like that we're doing, that we've done in-house, and it's been a huge success.
Mhm. So, since we are talking about the new systems that you have adopted and you started small, so we are on a discussion towards the roadmap. So, company like Somany, what is the roadmap for next year? Not very long, just a year. How do you plan that? What is your roadmap?
Roadmap, I would say making it easier for dealers to order through us, to manage their schemes through us. That's a big one. Getting, I mean, obviously there's a couple of strategic things I can't speak about right now in great detail. There's a lot of stuff in getting leads generated in a way where I can, if I'm getting a lead, how do I convert it and how do I track the conversion? Right? And when I say track the conversion, I don't mean that the guy went to the dealer. I mean the guy went to the dealer and then he bought it. But that's also fairly easy to do. But the problem is, a lot of times our work happens in cash. I'm saying on the dealer end, not us. It's just how this country is. And how do you track that transaction? I still want to know whether my tile went or somebody else's tile went, right? So that piece is something that we want to solve, or to a certain extent solve and cover over the next few years, next couple of years, I would say 1 or 2 years. And again, like I said, a host of internal things, like how do we make sure our paper like our legal documents are like filed away in a way where I can find them easily, all that kind of stuff. That's like lower priority stuff because we don't get into a lot of legal issues. But there's always filing things, like compliance, this, that, those kind of things.
So, sort of coming back to the recent implementations, I thought, I mean, there was some network issues. So, you would want to pick up from there about how vendors are finalized, RFP process, and all of that. You want to touch upon that, Saurabh?
Yeah, I want to, but maybe in the interest of time, I just want to just point out one thing is that Shivats, we have shortlisted around 10 to 15 founders as a part of this conversation, and these founders have shown interest to kind of get a kind of a minute or so as a window where they can talk about their own product and see if there is an opportunity for you guys have to join hands there, right? We have founders which are coming from areas including contract management and e-signing, industrial automation products, AI-based sales support, sales calling kind of products, AI-powered 3D visualization, project management tools for engineering and construction industry, right? Online project management kind of solution, AI agentic sourcing platforms, virtual reality solutions. So we have fair bit of diverse kind of product and solutions that are there in this room. People who represent these organizations. Can you talk a little bit about? Take your time and talk about that. And I can talk about these names again because it's a big list. But do you see some of these kind of products falling into your larger roadmap, and do you see that these applications will fall into your kind of line of work?
So as an application, sure, quite a few that you mentioned,
Hmm.
we could do with,
Hmm.
no question about it. Like I said, there's lots of low-hanging fruits,
Hmm.
but it needs to be how much we can do in 1 year.
Hmm.
Of
Correct.
course, as you know, in implementing things is not easy. It takes months,
Hmm.
and not only months to implement it, months to get people to actually shift their thought process to use it, right?
Yeah.
That's the real catch.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, there's definitely synergies there. Happy to take that conversation forward with each individual company that we feel we can work with offline. Uh, yeah, but see, it's all about how well you can integrate it, how seamless you make the integration into my setup. And
Hmm.
I have basic tools that I use like SAP and all that stuff, which is industry standard. But yeah, I mean, the one thing we get mostly that we get cold feet on is the integrate kaise hoga.
Yeah. No, integrations is a big kind of a pain point. In fact, I love to know that because you have gone through a lot of recent implementation. You mentioned that you have gone through some major implementations, but also small little implementations within like organization. What has been the major challenges, right? Something that you can talk about as a part of this conversation. That okay, what major challenges that you saw in that implementation journey? Because I've heard a lot that a lot of products fail when it comes to implementation, and if the implementation and onboarding is not good, the product is very likely going to not succeed as a part of the engagement, right? And there is going to be very fast churn, right? So can you share some learnings around it? That would be an interesting insight for a lot of founders who are here.
For sure. See, going back to our first couple of slides, when I said that we are not very tech enabled, when I say we really mean as an industry, right? We need hand holding to a certain extent. There are a lot of people who are, I'm not saying people are silly or something like that. I don't mean to say that at all, but a lot of the people in the decision making chain are not very tech savvy. So they kind of don't get the point, or they feel ki like अच्छा ही तो चल रहा है और क्यों करना है. But in that अच्छा ही तो चल रहा है और क्यों करना है, you end up missing a very crucial boat sometimes, right? Although there's merit to that also sometimes. The thing is where the challenges come. One, during implementation, the time and effort that is quoted, and this comes from both ends, कि कितना difficult होगा और कितना time लगेगा. Both these things are usually way off. The effort is way higher and the time taken is way higher, which where people start to get frustrated because you're already dealing with a bunch of people who are less tech savvy, especially in the overall chain. You know, they start getting frustrating. They start putting pressure in places where pressure is not due. Yes, करना है, खत्म करना है, I understand that pressure, but छोड़ दो ना, इसको ऐसे कर दो, you know, remove this feature, why do we need this feature, ये तो चाहिए. Certain features are important, man. It might not be super important, but they are the tiny thing that actually adds, like, it's like the cherry on top. It makes the cake look much nicer and makes the cake work much better that way. That's been an implementation thing. So time, effort, understanding are the three biggest challenges. Understanding on both sides. You understand our use case. I don't understand the implementation partner to understand my industry as well as I do. But you have to have some idea of it. So that's why we end up going a lot with veterans because they've just kind of done it before. Not to dissuade people from starting companies like this. I think there are ways, but I'm just telling you a thought process as to what you want to navigate around and instill faith and trust. But that's how I'm coming from.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great insight, because I think that is where a lot of people, lot of founders who are coming with a very strong product background, and they really underestimate and really kind of do not capacitate enough, particularly the early stage ones, when it comes to this onboarding and implementation journey, right? And that is where kind of the bigger failure happens, right? The service part of it, because a lot of founders are excited about building products, but the service and implementation is where gaps happen. Do you had like churns in the sense that you have seen a lot of products coming into, you implemented them, and after 1 year you realize that it's not working out, it's not right for you, you're not getting the value out of it? Do you measure the success of each product? Do you critically evaluate every year that are we getting value from this solution, right? Because I do hear like large enterprises have so many products implemented, they have a huge stack, and like they hardly use many of them, right? So what is your experience there?
Before you answer, at one point in time, Shrivatsa got to know that one cement major company had implemented 19 different apps, and then they were struggling to consolidate all of them. And finally, they did that. They did a wonderful job, and now they are using one single app. But this adding multiple systems, then going through the consolidation, that's what sort of I
That's a
want
good
to
question.
understand as a journey.
That's a very good question. That comes down to what I said. Ki ye nahi hai ki we're not doing things, and our industry has not been doing things. It's just about the vision as to where do I see this 5 years from now. A lot of people don't start with that question in their head. If you don't do that, a lot of times you will have issues where you don't carry that forward. So that's one issue, as to you start with the wrong vision or something. Look, there is no way that you will implement something and make sure that it ends up, because maybe and this is not something to do with my industry. It's just life in general, where you start something and you find, oh, maybe this is not for me actually, while you really go deep into it. And if you spend so much time going deep into something before implementing it, you're just wasting time, and you don't get that kind of insight into something. So it's not that we implement something and feel ki, oh, this is not for me, because that does happen and that should happen, because then you're not trying new things. But yes, to start off with, I think it's generally a bit of a chronic problem, where we as an industry, we don't look at the future perspective of what we're building. Case in point, I'm from the background. When we started building Rishte, perfect example. was a brand new thing for our entire rung of our industry. For the most part, only very few people had a very successful one in our level. We had multiple apps running, one for plumber. It was called Plumber Mitra, long time ago, about 4 years ago. Then, something as simple as why the vision matters, key. We were just going to replace Plumber Mitra with what? Plumber Mitra? I mean, you're pigeonholing yourself कि like ये सिर्फ plumber के लिए है, सब dealer के लिए नहीं है, mason के लिए नहीं है, किसके लिए नहीं है. तो रिश्ते नाम क्यों रखे? You want to make a relationship. You want to have a relationship with these people, whether it's a contractor, whether it's an architect, whether it's a sub dealer, whether it's a dealer, whether it's a plumber. You want to keep a relationship there. That's why we called it that. Something as simple as a name is very important as to what you're doing and why you want to do it. And ergo, I was adamant that all these guys need to come in under one umbrella. So we started with one umbrella from day one. And that's the only way to do it. You don't see Zomato for delivery, Zomato for dine-in, right? There's a switch that's there. Why is that switch there? Why aren't there just two apps? It's because of this. The days where everybody wanted a different app is gone.
Yeah.
But the district has come up since Zomato is being mentioned.
Because I think they're a phenomenal company as to what they've built. I've been a very small part of it once upon a time, and I have the utmost respect for the way that company was built. I mean, incredible.
Amazing. They are doing amazing job. They're doing amazing job in bringing tech and people together.
Yeah.
And empowering the lower strata of the society. That's really amazing.
And they've had their mess ups. Like you're saying, one thing you do things like stop working. So at Zomato, before I had left, I was heading the Android development team for white label apps. And what was that? It's just that a restaurant can choose their color theme, some photos, hit the run button, so to speak, and it would create an app for them, like an actual app, and upload it automatically to the Play Store or the App Store.
Nice.
Each restaurant having its own app. I mean, that's unthinkable right now. So they did that. I was part of that team. We built that software and it worked, but nobody wanted it beyond a point. So everybody makes mistakes, but you can't not do it.